Hello guys, welcome to Small Step Studies. And in the previous chapter we learned about extensive form of game, which is just right here, extensive form of a game. And I taught you to write the matrix form of sequential game also. And I also given you the homework also to write one question in a matrix form, which was the sequential game. Okay, so that was all for the previous class. I hope you have done your homeworks and you are taking the class after doing the previous lectures. Okay, so now in this class we will start our class with our first topic, which is maximum strategy. So guys, maximum strategy refers to that strategy which maximize the minimum gains. So this is quite complex. So I'll make it. It will be simple if I'll show you by the example. I'm just telling you the theory, and you will learn by the example only. So whereas the concept of Nash equilibrium depends on rationality of each player. No, sorry. The concept of Nash equilibrium depends on rationality, right? Each player's choice of strategy depends not only on his rationality but also on the rationality of competitor. So in this game, each player's choice of strategy is not only dependent on his own rationality but also on depends on the rationality of the competitor. So such strategies are called maximum strategies. And who use such strategy? It is used by risk averse person. And you know about risk averse, as I assume that you may have passed your semester 3. Okay, so let's begin with the example. Okay, so there is one player A, player B. So they have two choices, whether to invest or do not invest. Don't invest, invest. Don't invest, invest. Okay, and the payoff matrix is such that minus 10 comma 10 minus 100 comma 0 20 comma 10, and you are given the that probability of B of investing is 0.8, probability of B do not invest is equal to zero point 0.2. Okay, so this is what you have given. So if I take this example, you can see that he is not a risk averse person, because you can see the probability of invest is more than probability of do not invest, right? So I'm just telling you the first example. The second example will tell you what is the maximum strategy. Basically, I will just do the comparison. So if you see by the dominant strategy, we'll see what will be the answer. So you know the dominant strategy I taught you in the first chapter only. So okay, so if you see the columns, okay, which is assigned for B, so you can see that 0 minus 1 and sorry second one. So you can see that the column 1 is all the column 2 is better than or dominated from column 1, because you can see the entries of column 1s of B are 0 comma 0. So the entries of invest 10 comma 10 is better than 0 comma 0. So he won't go with column 1. This is sure, right? So again, so B will go with column 2. And similarly, if you take what will now A knows that B will go with column 2. So it means A has to choose between these two. So now what A will choose? A will obviously go for this. So from dominant strategy, 20 comma 10 is the solution. Now, now if we see, now if we see that, so we can see that by dominant strategy, it is better for A to invest. Okay, so now we will see from the mixed strategy, that is expected payoff. We are seeing from the point of view of A only. Okay, expected payoff. That is why we have given the probabilities of B, so that because it affects the decision of A. So that's why we have given the probability of B. Okay, so now if you calculate expected payoff of A to invest, now first we will take this one. So now we are taking individually, so here it will be 1. So if you do the same thing, we have given the probabilities here of invest 0.8 and of do not invest 0.2. So you have to just take this row, and as usual, how you calculate 100 into do not invest 0.2, and we will take this as 1. Similarly, 20 into 0.8 and again 1. So this will come out as -4. So now we will similarly calculate expected payoff of A to do not invest. That means we will take the first column now. So it will be 0 into 0.2 plus -10 into 0.8, right? So what will this be? This will be -8. So if you see which one is larger, obviously investment is larger. So what we will do, he will do what in which the expectations are more, that is profits are more. Okay, so it is coming here that it is better for invest in from the point of view of mixed strategy also. So in this case it can be seen that it is better to invest whether you use the dominant strategy for A or whether you use the mixed strategy for A. It is both better to invest. So you must be thinking, we were studying about maximum strategy, and how does it making any difference? It is making any difference. Now I will tell you the second case in which from the dominant strategy it is saying that investing is a better option. Okay, but from mixed strategy it won't be a better option. Like if you do with mixed strategy, you will get some different answer. You will get that you should not invest in the mixed strategy. So let's see. And this will happen just by changing the probabilities. Yes guys, just by changing the probability. So now I will write here, this is the second part, this is the first. Now I am changing the probability. So probability of invest is equal to 0.2 now, and probability of don't invest is equal to 0.8. So now let's calculate. From dominant strategy will be same for both the cases, okay, because it doesn't take into consideration the probability, so it will be same. So from dominant strategy, investing is always a good option for A. So now we will calculate the same thing from the mixed strategy, and now the probabilities have changed. So let's see what will the answer be now. Okay, so the expected payoff of A invest to invest. Okay, so it will come like this, -100 into 0.8, you can just interchange these two, plus 20 into 0.2, right? It will come out as -76. Now we will write expected payoff do not invest. Okay guys, so what will it come from? You can again interchange it, 0 into 0.8, 0 into 0.8 and -10 into 2, -10 into 2, it will come as -2. So now if you compare these two, it is better for A to do not invest, because in this case A is a risk averse person. Okay, so got it. So in this case this won't be the solution, that 2010. So we can see that by just changing the probability and or changing the risk profile of the player, how does it affect your answer. and you get different answers from dominant strategy and and mixed strategy. Okay, so this was about the maximum strategy, and I hope you understood this. And also you can see that in the second case, the person A is a risk averse person, right? Because he is not investing by mixed strategy. Okay, so it can also lead to irrationality, but it's mixed strategy and we go by the formula. So this is the part of the game only. We cannot just say it is rationality because it is just that the player is risk averse. Okay guys, so now let's move on to our next topic, that is top dog versus puppy dog. Top dog versus puppy dog. Okay guys, so let's start it. So if I tell you in brief, it is related to your oligopoly, and which you have studied that both the models, Stackelberg, Bertrand's and Carnot's model. So you can relate it with them also, and I will explain you also what is this. Okay guys. So in this, that there is one firm which is leader firm and the second firm is follower firm. So by this you must have known that we have eliminated the Carnot method, so we will only have Stackelberg and Bertrand. So there will be, in the first case we will be considering the quantity, and in the second case we will be considering the price. So let's see what happens in top dog. So there is one firm which is sophisticated firm, or we can say the leader firm, right? So the leader firm plays top dog when the follower firm, that is firm 2, is operating under Stackelberg assumption. So what does it mean? So just to remember that, you can see, you can just write here, leader would produce large quantity, and underline the word quantity here. And similarly in the puppy dog, I'll write it afterwards. Okay, let's complete this word. So in the top dog will be applied when the firm is operating under the Stackelberg assumption that there is one follower and there is one leader firm. Okay, and you know, in the Stackelberg we determine the quantity, not price. So the goal of firm 1, which is the leader firm, is to induce firm 2 to compete less aggressively. He will induce the firm 2 that he will make sure that the follower firm will compete the less aggressively. Okay. So this is achieved by firm 1 by producing more output and forces firm 2 to produce less. Okay, so this was your top dog. That what the leader firm will do, he will produce large quantity and force the follower firm to produce less quantity and compete less aggressively to the firm. Okay, so the your top dog is finished. So on the other hand, if we come to puppy dog strategy, so in this the sophisticated firm, that is firm 1 same leader firm, shall play puppy dog strategy when firm 2, which is the follower firm, is operating under the Bertrand's assumption. Okay, and you know what did we determine in the Bertrand's assumption is the price. Okay, so here it will compete with the price. He will try to maximize his profit with the price only. Okay, so once again, the goal of sophisticated firm is to induce firm 2 to compete less aggressively. So the goal is same in both the case, top dog and puppy dog. These were just two strategies which the leader firm can play. Okay, but in this, he will play with the help of quantity. He would force the firm 2 to produce less, and in this is achieved by firm 1 by charging slightly higher prices, and also forces firm 2 to charge higher prices. Okay, so what will happen? You know, everyone will go to the leader firm since it was the well established firm, and also also the cost is low. But if the follower firm comes in the market and the leader firm is forcing him to charge higher prices, so it will incur many costs and he may leave the market soon. So these are just the strategy which were followed by the leader firm, and these were the two assumptions, Bertrand and Stegelberg. First is under quantity, and I write here for that leader would charge higher price. Okay guys, so now your top dog versus puppy dog is also finished. Now the introduction of this top dog versus puppy dog is over. Now we will discuss about entry deterrence. So in simple words, if I tell you what is this, it is just imposing any restriction so that the follower firm do not enter to the market. Okay. Entry deterrence. So in short you can also write restrictions. So there may be certain circumstances in which the leader firm may pursue a strategy that keep their rival out of the industry, thus leaving the leader firm, that is firm 1, as a monopolist. Okay, so there was two economists. So according to Robin, Field and Pendick, these were the names of the economists, to deter the entry, the leader firm must convince any potential competitor that entry will be unprofitable. So what do you mean by this is that if you want the follower firm to not enter into the market, so you have to make them believe that this is unprofitable for them. Okay, so now we will discuss about how we will do impose this restriction, or make them not enter the market, and the firm 1, which is the leader firm, enjoys the monopoly power. So if we talk about top dog and puppy dog strategies, they both are accommodating strategy. Okay, because in this firm 1, which is a leader firm, allows firm 2 to enter the market, but forced him to operate less aggressively. Okay, so deterring entry involves the first mover, that is firm 1, to act strategically in a manner that follower firm 2 does not find it financially viable to enter the industry. One strategy to deter entry is force the follower firm to incur the substantial sunk cost to enter the market. So the firm, which is the leader firm, he must uh, have some strategy in which he may believe the he make believe the follower firm, or the firm who is going to enter the industry, that this is not profitable for you to enter the industry, and it may lead to the sunk cost. So what is sunk cost? As you have already studied this, that the cost which cannot be recovered. Okay, so in order to implement the entry deterring strategy, firm 1 need to produce an output level which is so high that even with the reaction curve of firm 1, the entry firm cannot earn enough profit to recover its sunk cost. So did you get it? He is saying that the firm, which is the leader firm, must produce that high level of output, that even with its best response curve, which we studied earlier, like we draw the best response curve and take out which quantity both will produce. Okay, that even with the best response curve of the firm 1, firm 2 cannot even earn enough profit to recover its sunk cost, that is cost basically which cannot be recovered. Okay, so therefore strategies available to the first mover firm 1 shall depend on the price competition and quantity competition, right? It can be either through price, he can impose restriction, like he can sell at very less quantity, because sell it very less price, because the cost will be cost will be very low, because he is already established in the market, and the other firm, no one will purchase if he charged the price which he will be like minimum price, which he will be recovering its total variable cost or even the cost. So then also he won't be able to recover it. Okay, so he may charge price much less than theirs, because its marginal cost is much less than the cost which new firm is going will be going to incur. Okay, so it can be from both quantity side and price side. Okay, so if I want to summarize all this, what I can do? They can be first under quantity competition, like I am taking consideration of quantity. So there are two options: whether you accommodate the entry of your rival, or the second option is deterring the entry of the rival. So in this, if you want to accommodate, we know that what he will play, since it is quantity and quantity is played in top dog, so you will play top dog strategy, right? And to deter the entry, now to deter the entry again, he have to play the same strategy, play top dog only, right? Because in top dog he still produce the large quantity, so he can increase more quantity, so he has to play top dog under both the cases. Now if we see under price competition, first mover, this is from the first mover point of view. Okay, first mover can, here also first mover can. Okay, so there can be again two options: accommodate entry or deter, right? So here if you want to accommodate, so under price competition, you know which strategy we follow puppy dog, and these both two are accommodating, so we will play puppy dog. But if you have to deter, then you have to still you have to play only top dog. From top dog only you can do this. You can deter the person to enter the market, because it won't be liable for it. So you can see that if you want to deter the entry, you have to play top dog. Okay, and don't think that top dog cannot be played in under price. Like it cannot be played under price, but if you see from Stackelberg Bertrand's point of view, you can still have Stackelberg and Bertrand, which I have done the combination of Stackelberg and Bertrand. You can have that leader follower relationship in this also, and you can still use top dog. Okay, and we have done question like this also in our oligopoly lesson. Okay, guys. So, okay, so let's move on to next part, which is sub games. Okay, but before sub games, let me just clarify you this one. Like I will clarify with the help of matrix. I'll draw one matrix and see if you get it. Okay, so let's begin it. So we were talking about how can we deter entry with respect to prices. Okay, so I am just explaining you with the help of one matrix, so that you get clear that how such thing uh, operates. Okay, I have already told you from the point of view of MC, but I am just, it is same only, but I am just doing the form of payoff matrix, which we have been studying out. So there is a potential entrant, let's say it's B. Okay, so he has two options, whether to enter or whether to stay out, right? Similarly here there is a, who is he is leader firm. What choices he have? We are taking prices. We are taking from price point of view. So what choices does A have? So A have only two choices, like he can either charge high price or he can charge low price. Okay guys, so now if I write down, let's assume that the payoffs are like this. Okay, so now player A, which is the leader firm, is giving the threat to player B that I will charge very low prices. So but if you can see in the matrix, it is not a credible threat. Like player B may think he may charge higher prices at later. So what we have to do that, what we have already studied that to make the threat credible, you have to just modify the matrix. So what now A can do is that he can modify the matrix. So now in case of 100 he can write 50, and here it can write 150. So now if you see that if the potential entrant enters the market, which is this one, enter this column, so what will A choose? A will obviously choose 70 from 50, because 70 is greater than 50. You may also take it as a profit, and so that this will be the your solution, and at this solution B is incurring losses, and that's why B will never enter the market. Okay, because it will be its sunk cost. But earlier when the B entered the market and A was saying that I will be charging lower price, but if you see the matrix, A may charge higher price also, so it was not a credible threat. So to make the threat credible, he changed of the payoff matrix, and it is like this. Now he will always charge lower prices, and if he enters when he is charging lower prices, he is going to incur losses, which is minus 10. Okay, so he will stay out of the game. He won't enter the market. Okay guys, so I hope this is clear. So I guess the class is quite long now, so we should end it here and we will start sub games from the next class. Okay guys, so thank you guys for watching. Have a nice day and keep studying regularly, and thank you guys.